So this video is for everyone who's losing their shit over the Citizenship Amendment Bill and the NRC, the National Register of Citizens, and wondering if it's fascist. My name is Sham Sharma. This is the Sham Sharma Show. Hello, and welcome to this edition of the Sham Sharma Show. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you. And before we get started, really quickly, this is a new channel that I've started where all the English content of the Sham Sharma Show is going to live. So please, if you'd like to watch more English content from the Sham Sharma Show, please support this channel. Subscribe, share, comment, like, all of that fun stuff. And now, on with the show. So you'll be very surprised to know that the mainstream media, whether in the West or in India, hasn't really been honest about the much talked about and the much protested about NRC and the Citizenship Amendment Act. I know, if you can't trust the mainstream media, who can you trust?
Nice.
I mean, just look at these headlines from two of the biggest mainstream publications in the United States. Reading these headlines, it'll really seem like India is trying to strip Muslims of their citizenship, is trying to make them second-class citizens, and is trying to make it extremely difficult for them to become citizens of India. Even the USCIRF, the United States Commission for International Religious Freedom, expressed concern over the Citizenship Amendment Act, which is really kind of funny. USCIRF has close ties to some very shady evangelical organizations, and the USCIRF often turns a blind eye to the shady activities of these shady evangelical organizations in countries like India. What this USCIRF also doesn't express enough concern about is that the United States immigration policy heavily discriminates against people from India and China. But for India, they're concerned. So let's talk about the Citizenship Amendment Bill and the NRC, and let's try to figure out if they're really as fascist as they're being made out to be. So what is the Citizenship Amendment Bill? Now the Citizenship Amendment Act. It is a bill that aims to give citizenship to Hindu, Buddhist, Jain, Sikh, Christian, and Parsi refugees from three countries of Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh who have been living in India prior to the 31st of December 2014. And look, it is very well known that these religions and these communities in these three countries are being horrifically discriminated against and persecuted through either forced conversions, kidnappings, or blasphemy killings. So if these communities do not escape these conditions in these countries, they will get wiped out. The next question is the bill Islamophobic, and will it make Muslims second-grade citizens? No. This bill does not concern itself with Indian citizens at all. This bill concerns itself with persecuted citizens of a foreign country and give them citizenship in India when they're escaping persecution. Another question being asked is this going to make naturalization for Muslim immigrants more difficult, the CAA? No, because India still has immigration and asylum laws preceding the Citizenship Amendment Bill. Muslims of other countries can still apply for immigration and asylum through these existing laws, like the Foreigners Act 1946, so their naturalization process is not going to be affected. Then the next question is, why not include Ahmadiyyas and Shias? Well, the reason for that is that as far as India is concerned, Ahmadiyyas and Shias are still Muslims. Pakistan is a declared Muslim Islamic country. It is not India's fault that some Muslims in Pakistan have declared Ahmadiyyas and Shias to be non-Muslims. And secondly, Ahmadiyyas and Shias also wanted a separate Pakistan. Ahmadiyyas were at the forefront of the demand for a separate Pakistani country. One of the foremost advocates for Pakistan was Muhammad Zafrullah Khan, who was a Ahmadi leader who drafted the Lahore Resolution, which laid out the plans to create Pakistan. He was also Pakistan's first foreign minister, and he represented Pakistan at the United Nations for the Kashmir issue. So it's a little bit like having your cake and eating it too. You dismembered India into three different pieces on the basis of religion. And now it's unfortunate that members of your own country have declared you a non-Muslim and persona non grata. So you made the decision that you could not coexist with Hindus. So great. You don't have to live with Hindus, live in Pakistan, and there are other 50 plus Islamic nations as well, where I'm sure the Ummah would be willing to take you in. The next question is it unconstitutional? Does it go against Article 14? Well, the Article 14 of the Indian Constitution promises equality before law, but there's a clause within Article 14 that is about reasonable classification. So affirmative action and positive discrimination can be done under this clause of reasonable classification under Article 14. So reasonable classification can happen if you can prove that certain people have been historically discriminated against or historically disenfranchised. This is why the reservation system that India has for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes and the various extra privileges given to minority communities in India fall under these reasonable classifications for Article 14. And so for the persecuted communities from Pakistan, Afghanistan and Bangladesh, the same reasonable classification is being used. So I don't think it goes against Article 14. And look, a final word on this whole matter of the Citizenship Amendment Act from me. For me at least, India is a civilizational state and it is the home of all these dharmic cultures and civilizations. So for these people that are being persecuted in these three countries, they have nowhere else to go but India. So just like a mother's children may spread all across the world, but when the children are in danger, when the children run into trouble, what does a mother do? The mother says, come home, we will take care of you. This is what mothers do all around the world, and this is what India should be doing as well, and this is why I support it. And I want to ask you, do you support the Citizenship Amendment Bill? Do you understand the Citizenship Amendment Act? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. Another thing that we need to make a distinction between when it comes to Citizenship Amendment Bill and the NRC are economic migrants and migrants of persecution. Economic migrants come to India because they're looking for better job opportunities, better economic opportunities. The migrants that are escaping persecution come to India because if they do not come to India, they will get wiped out. And so for that reason also, there's a very strong case for them in the Citizenship Amendment Act. Now let's talk about the NRC. What is the NRC? So the NRC is basically going to be a list of all Indian citizens living in India. And so the people that are not initially included in the list, the way the NRC is being applied in Assam, they will have another chance to prove their Indian citizenship by going to the tribunals that the government will be setting up. Now, before we even go into a deep discussion of the NRC, it's very important to remember that the NRC has not been pulled out of the BJP's ass. They didn't pull it out of their own ass. This is something that has been suggested by the Constitution of India. The Citizenship Act of 1955 provides for compulsory registration of every citizen of India and issuance of national identity card to them. Under the citizenship rules of 2003, the instructions for the creation of the National Register of Citizens has been given as well. On top of that, the Supreme Court has also suggested that an NRC being set up, and the Congress party, the so-called secular party, the party that was in opposition to the BJP, they made moves between 2004 and 2009 to bring in the NRC. So if you're calling the BJP fascist, then essentially the Constitution of India is fascist, the Supreme Court is fascist, and all political parties in India are fascist. But when it comes to the NRC, I have three main concerns about it and why I think that it's very difficult to implement the NRC on a national scale. My first problem is the high chance of two different kinds of errors. A Muslim immigrant coming into India is falsely identified as a Hindu, Buddhist, Jain, Sikh, Christian, Parsi, and given Indian citizenship. Now, this really isn't a massive problem. I can't see this happening to thousands and thousands of people. This will most likely happen to a few people. So this isn't really a serious economic problem, but this can be a national security problem. The second type of error is the type 2 error or false negatives, which means that an Indian citizen is erroneously declared an illegal immigrant. As you can imagine, that would obviously be very unfortunate and very unfair. Problem number 2 that occurs from this is that the Indian bureaucracy is not the most efficient bureaucracy in the world. There is a lot of inefficiency in the lower level bureaucracy in India. There is also a high amount of corruption in the lower level bureaucracy in India. So when you combine the problems with the Indian bureaucracy with the problems of getting these type 1 and type 2 errors, you can imagine that these kinds of errors can be quite high when the NRC list is compiled. But to avoid these kinds of errors, the government has also set up some procedures that will make it incredibly simple for people to prove their citizenship. They've provided 14 different documents that can be used to prove their citizenship. And if somebody is illiterate and poor and doesn't have any of these documents, even an endorsement from the family or from the community can even act as a proof of citizenship. And so a lot of people are saying that only Indian Muslims will have to provide these documents and the refugees and the Hindus will not have to provide documents. And that is also not true. Hindus and Muslims both will have to provide documentation that they are actually Indian citizens, and even the refugees that are coming into India and that will be granted citizenship under the Citizenship Amendment Act, even they have to produce the requisite papers to prove to the Indian government that they're actually refugees of these religions escaping persecution from these countries to be able to grant a citizenship. Citizenship isn't being granted to them willy-nilly. So you have the problem of the type 1 and type 2 errors. Then you have the problem of the inefficiency of the Indian bureaucracy. And the third problem is, even if, let's say, you find, 5 million people that are proven as illegal immigrants under the NRC, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think Bangladesh is just going to be like, yeah, arms wide open, man. You don't like those 5 million people? Give them to me. I'll take them. That's not going to happen. So if Bangladesh isn't going to take them back, what are you going to do? Put them in detention camps? You're going to put 5 million people in detention camps? You can't do that. That's just a massive human rights violation. So this is why I have some concerns about the NRC, and I understand that people also have genuine concerns about the NRC. And this is why I also think that it's going to be very hard to implement a nationwide NRC. So to recap, I 100% fully support the Citizenship Amendment Act, but I have some doubts regarding the NRC. So what can we do to combat illegal immigration? The first thing we can do is make sure Aadhaar is implemented properly. Aadhaar and NRC are kind of one and the same thing. If Aadhaar is implemented properly, then we'll find out who's in the country legally and who's an illegal immigrant. We don't need the NRC for it necessarily. So the first step is to ensure proper implementation of the Aadhaar program. The second thing you can do is disenfranchisement. Like, if you know that certain people are living in the country illegally, then what you can do is take their voting rights away and make sure that they don't get the benefits of government programs like the housing schemes, like the medical insurance schemes, the Ayushman Bharat schemes, like the Mudra Yojana and other things like it, and the government makes sure that these schemes are provided to citizens only. Then third, better border security. Look, if you really think about it, the major problem in illegal immigration comes really from Bangladesh and not from the other countries. So the government should really focus its money and attention on the Bangladeshi border. Put more BSF personnel there to make sure that the borders are properly manned. Use high technology fences. Use better technology to make sure that the number of illegal immigrants coming into India is drastically reduced. And finally, better coordination between the state and the national intelligence agencies to find out who's illegal and carry out low-level deportations. Instead of throwing out 5 million people, which is going to be impossible, it is better to start sending back 100, 150 people each week or each month or something like that. Lower-level deportations that people won't really have a problem with. And look, even though I have problems with the NRC, I think it is fine for a government to know who is living within the country's borders legally and illegally. So in principle, the NRC isn't a fascist thing. Like I said, the Constitution mandates it, the Supreme Court mandates it, and the secular party, Congress party, also wanted it. So I think the government needs to devise a better plan as to what they're going to do once they find out that you have a certain number of illegal immigrants living in the country. And I want to ask you, do you agree with me on the NRC? Do you have any disagreements? Let me know in the comment section down below as well. And I want to say one final thing before I end this video. That, look, it's perfectly okay to disagree with the policies of the government, and it's perfectly okay to raise your voice against these policies. This is the whole point of a democracy. But the way the public has opposed it, and the way the public has shown their protest has been absolutely shameful. A proper, serious, good faith debate needs to happen around this topic, but that's not what's happening. People have descended onto the streets, they're attacking police officers, they're burning public property, and they're shouting that India is a fascist country, Modi is Hitler, Modi is Hitler. How the hell is that going to help debate in India in any shape or form? So unfortunately, the left has shown itself to be completely bereft of ideas, completely bereft of good arguments, and this is why I wanted to make this video, even though it's a longer video, to just make sure that people understand what these two bills are about. And if you have any doubts about it, if you have any questions about it, let me know in the comment section down below and I will try to answer them as well for you. Other than that, guys, if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a like, leave a thumbs up. It helps me out. It helps this new channel out a lot. Share this channel, share this video, help this channel grow as well. And I'd really appreciate it. If you like today's episode, if you like the Sham Sharma Show and you'd like to support the Sham Sharma Show, make sure to click on the Patreon button in the description below. Become a patron of the show. You get the brand new Sham Sharma Show mugs that are coming out very soon as well. And you'll get access to the show's Discord and WhatsApp servers as well. If you like today's episode, if you like the Sham Sharma Show and you'd like to support the Sham Sharma Show, make sure to subscribe. Click the subscribe button down here. Make sure to press the bell icon as well and check out all the other videos we have going on over here. I am sure you will like them as well. I will see you for the next episode, and until then, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys soon.